boys, you must forgive me for listening, but you were right behind me, so I couldn't help it. Peter, why don't you tell the others what you were saying to Gordon just now?" Peter J. looked bewildered, and I could see him getting ready his injured, innocent face. But then Miss Lucy said again, this time much more gently, "Peter, go on. Please tell the others what you were just saying." Peter shrugged. "We were just talking about what it would feel like if we became actors, what sort of life it would be." "Yes," Miss Lucy said. "And you were saying to Gordon that you'd have to go to America to stand the best chance." Peter J. shrugged again and muttered quietly, "Yes, Miss Lucy." But Miss Lucy was now moving her gaze over the lot of us. "I know you don't mean any harm, but there's just too much talk like this. I hear it all the time. It's been allowed to go on, and it's not right." I could see more drops coming off the gutter and landing on her shoulder, but she didn't seem to notice. "If no one else will talk to you," she continued, "then I will. The problem, as I see it, is that you've been told and not told. You've been told, but none of you really understand. And I dare say some people are quite happy to leave it that way, but I'm not. If you're going to have decent lives, then you've got to know and know properly. None of you will go to America, and none of you will be film stars, and none of you will be working in supermarkets, as I've heard some of you planning the other day. Your lives are set out for you. You'll become adults. Then, before you're old, before you're even middle-aged, you'll start to donate your vital organs. That's what each one of you was created to do. You're not like the actors you watch on your videos. You're not even like me. You were brought into this world for a purpose, and your futures, all of them, have been decided. So you're not going to talk that way anymore. You'll be leaving Hailsham before long, and it's not far off, the day you'll be preparing for your first donations. You need to remember that. If you're to have decent lives, you have to know who you are and what lies ahead of you, every one of you." Then she went silent, but my impression was that she was continuing to say things inside her head, because for some time her gaze kept roving over us, going from face to face, just as if she was still speaking to us. We were all pretty relieved when she turned to look out over the playing field again. "It's not so bad now," she said, even though the rain was as steady as ever. "Let's just go out there, and maybe the sun will come out too." So I'd say Miss Lucy had it about right when she said, a couple of years later, that we're being told and not told. And what's more, now I think about it, I'd say what Miss Lucy said to us that afternoon led to a real shift in our attitudes. It was after that day jokes about donations faded away and we started to think properly about things. If anything, the donations went back to being a subject to be avoided, but not in the way it had been when we were younger. This time round, it wasn't awkward or embarrassing anymore, just sombre and serious. "It's funny," Tommy said to me when we were remembering it all again a few years ago. None of us stopped to think about how she felt. Miss Lucy herself. We never worried if she got into trouble saying what she did to us. We were so selfish back then. "But you can't blame us," I said. "We'd been taught to think about each other, but never about the guardians. The idea the guardians had differences between them had never occurred to us." "But we were old enough," Tommy said. "By that age, it should have occurred to us, but it didn't. We didn't think about poor Miss Lucy at all. Not even after that time, you know, when you saw her." I knew straight away what he meant. He was talking about the morning early in our last summer at Hailsham, when I'd stumbled across her up in room 22. Thinking about it now, I'd say Tommy had a point. After that moment, it should have been clear, even to us, how troubled Miss Lucy had become. But as he said, we never considered anything from her viewpoint, and it never occurred to us to say or do anything to support her.